Welcome to Old Coins World PK. What if I told you that a coin dated 1772 could shake the very foundation of American history? Imagine, 20 years before the United States Mint was born, a coin appears marked $1 United States of America with a mysterious D Mint mark. How is this possible? Could this be a forgotten treasure, a fantasy of collectors, or the lost ancestor of the American dollar itself? Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will change the way you look at money, history, and rare coins forever. The 1772 D $1 coin of the United States of America is one of those mysterious topics that often creates excitement among collectors, researchers, and history lovers. To begin with, it is important to understand that the official U.S. Mint did not even exist in 1772. The first official American coinage was not produced until after the Mint Act of 1792, when the Philadelphia Mint was established. This means that any coin dated 1772 with a D Mint mark is either a fantasy issue, a reproduction, a privately struck token, or in some cases, a foreign coin misattributed as an American dollar. Yet, the very existence of such a piece sparks great curiosity, because the history of coins in pre-revolutionary America is filled with colonial issues, foreign currency in circulation, and later reproductions that blurred the line between genuine legal tender and historical commemoratives. During 1772, the American colonies were still under British control. At that time, coins from England, Spain, France, and Portugal circulated widely throughout the colonies. Spanish pieces of 8, the Spanish dollar, with a value of 8 reals, were especially important, as they became the de facto currency across the colonies. These Spanish silver dollars are considered the true predecessors of the American dollar. Many people today confuse early Spanish dollars of the 1700s with early U.S. dollars because the American founding fathers later based the U.S. dollar system on the Spanish 8 reals. Therefore, if someone encounters a coin marked 1772 with a denomination resembling a dollar, it is most likely connected to Spanish colonial coinage, which often carried the likeness of King Charles III of Spain, who reigned during that era. The D Mint mark adds another layer of intrigue. In U.S. numismatics, the D is associated with the Denver Mint, which was not founded until 1906, long after 1772. This clearly shows that no authentic 1772 U.S. coin could have a Denver Mint mark. However, there are many possibilities. It could be a fantasy coin made for collectors, a commemorative reproduction, or even a token or metal struck later, but given the earlier date for symbolic or decorative reasons. Some collectors in the 19th and 20th centuries commissioned such pieces to honor America's colonial history, giving them dates like 1772 to evoke the pre-Revolutionary War era. From a numismatic perspective, a 1772 dollar-like coin would be studied carefully for its metal content, weight, design details, and inscriptions. Genuine Spanish colonial dollars of that year were struck in silver, usually with pillars and waves designs on earlier issues, or with the bust of Charles III on later issues. These coins often traveled across the Atlantic and were used heavily in the American colonies. Because they contained high silver content, they were trusted in trade and became the backbone of colonial commerce. In fact, they were so respected that the term dollar in the U.S. was directly borrowed from these coins. If your 1772 coin matches these characteristics, it might actually be a Spanish real, not a U.S. dollar, but historically it is still immensely important because it directly influenced American coinage. Collectors today place enormous value on any coin dated in the 1700s, especially those that tie into early American history. A true Spanish silver dollar from 1772 in fine condition can range in value from a few $100s to several $1,000s, depending on mint, variety, and grade. If the coin is a privately struck fantasy piece bearing 1772 D $1 United States of America, then its value would depend on collector interest in such tokens or replicas. Some may only be worth a few dollars, while others, if rare or made in precious metals like silver or gold, can attract higher prices. The mystery and story behind it often enhance its desirability among collectors, even if it is not official U.S. mint currency. Ultimately, the 1772 D $1 coin is not an official U.S. coin, but It embodies the fascinating history of money during a crucial period. It represents a bridge between colonial America, foreign coinage, and the birth of the United States monetary system 2 decades later. Whether a Spanish real, a later commemorative, or a fantasy issue, such a coin invites us to imagine the economic struggles of colonial merchants, the reliance on foreign silver, and the eventual push to create a uniquely American currency. Owning or studying such a piece connects us not just to numismatics, but to the very roots of America's fight for independence and the foundations of its financial system. When we think about a coin dated 1772, we are immediately transported to a time before the United States of America was even born as an independent nation. The colonies were under British rule, the tensions of revolution were building, and money was one of the greatest sources of struggle. In this era, there was no such thing as an American dollar. Instead, people relied on a patchwork system of barter, colonial paper money, and above all, foreign silver coins. Among these, the most dominant and trusted coin was the Spanish dollar, also known as the piece of 8. Struck in fine silver, this coin was accepted almost everywhere in the world, from Europe to Asia to the Americas. If you were in Philadelphia, Boston, or New York in 1772, chances are the silver dollar in your hand was Spanish, not American. Now imagine holding a coin inscribed with 1772 and marked as $1 United States of America with a D mint mark. Such a piece instantly raises questions. How could this exist before the U.S. Mint was established in 1792? How could there be a Denver Mint mark when the Denver Mint only opened in 1906? The answer lies in the fascinating world of fantasy coins, reproductions, and tokens. Many collectors, especially during the 19th and 20th centuries, commissioned coins with early dates like 1772 to symbolize the roots of America's money. These were not official government issues, but they carried powerful imagery, often blending American symbolism with dates from the colonial era to create a story. To a casual observer, such a coin may look like a lost treasure, but to historians, it is a symbol of how people later romanticized America's beginnings. At the same time, it's important to recognize that a genuine 1772 Spanish silver dollar is a priceless artifact in its own right. On these coins, one often finds the crowned bust of King Charles III of Spain, who ruled from 1759 to 1788, or the earlier pillar dollar, designs showing the pillars of Hercules wrapped with banners, representing Spain's dominion across the seas. These coins carried pure silver, typically around 27 grams of fine metal, and became the model for the U.S. dollar that was officially adopted in 1792. In fact, when Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1792, they defined the dollar in terms of the Spanish silver piece of 8. Thus, while the U.S. dollar did not exist in 1772, the coin that inspired it did, and it was circulating in every colonial market, shop, and tavern. So, what does this mean for collectors today? If someone discovers a coin marked 1772 D $1 United States of America, the first step is authentication. Experts will analyze the metal, the strike, and the inscriptions. If it is a fantasy issue or a commemorative token, it may still hold value, especially to collectors of exonomia, the study of tokens and metals. Depending on rarity, quality, and metal content, these fantasy pieces can range from modest collectors' curiosities to highly sought-after rarities. If, however, the coin is actually a Spanish colonial silver dollar of 1772, then its value depends on grade and rarity. Common circulated examples may sell for a few $100s, while rare mint varieties or high-grade specimens can fetch thousands at auction. Some exceptional coins, with perfect details and original luster, have been known to break the $10,000 mark in collector markets. Beyond price, the real value of such a coin is historical. To hold a silver piece dated 1772 is to hold a fragment of a very economic fabric that supported the American colonies on the eve of revolution. Every mark, every worn detail tells the story of countless hands it passed through: merchants, sailors, soldiers, and farmers. It is a coin that connects us to a world before independence, a world where the seeds of the United States were just beginning to take root. Even if the coin is not official U.S. Mint issue, its story ties directly into the creation of America's monetary identity. In conclusion, the 1772 D$1 is more than just a piece of metal. It is a conversation starter, a mystery, and a bridge between history and imagination. Whether it is a genuine Spanish silver dollar that influenced America's currency or a later fantasy issue designed to honor the past, it carries with it the weight of centuries. For collectors, historians, and storytellers alike, this coin represents the magic of numismatics, where history, rarity, and mystery come together in the palm of your hand. Friends, listen carefully. This is not just a coin. This is a declaration of greatness. The 1776 to 1976 Eisenhower bicentennial dollar with the D mint mark is a time machine in your hand. It carries the thunder of the Liberty Bell, the courage of 1776, the leadership of Eisenhower, and the dream of reaching the moon. This one piece of metal ties together the birth of a nation and the triumph of space exploration. People look at it and think, just a dollar. But the truth is, in the world of collectors, in the market of rare treasures, the story of this coin makes it priceless. Even if its catalog value is a few dollars, the real value is far beyond money. It is the feeling of holding 2 centuries of American struggle, sacrifice, and glory. Remember, coins like these are not just currency, they are keys to history. Some exist in ordinary condition, some in silver-clad beauty, and a few in mint state perfection. And those rare, flawless examples? They can touch hundreds, even thousands, because collectors know you cannot buy history, but you can preserve it. So next time you see a 1776 to 1976 D Eisenhower dollar, don't treat it as spare change. Treat it as a treasure. Treat it as the voice of 1776 echoing into the future. This is not just a coin. This is America's heartbeat struck in metal, and it will live forever. The 1776 to 1976 D Eisenhower $1 coin is one of the most iconic pieces of American numismatic history, minted to honor the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Issued during the U.S. bicentennial celebration, this coin carries not just monetary value but a symbolic weight that connects the modern United States to its revolutionary roots. The obverse features the portrait of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, designed by Frank Gasparo, representing strength and leadership, while the reverse, designed by Dennis R. Williams, shows the Liberty Bell superimposed against the surface of the moon, a powerful design combining the freedom of 1776 with the achievements of 20th century America in space exploration. The D mint mark under Eisenhower's neck indicates that this particular coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Millions of these coins were produced between 1975 and 1976, but each carries with it the pride of a nation commemorating 2 centuries of independence. This coin was part of the wider bicentennial coinage program, which also included quarters and half dollars. The government released them to create enthusiasm across the country, and indeed, they were celebrated not just as spending money, but as keepsakes of history. Collectors and the general public alike held onto these pieces, and because of that, many exist today in circulated and uncirculated condition. The coin's large size, 38.1 millimeters in diameter and weighing 22.68 grams, gave it a commanding presence, making it a noticeable coin in the hand, unlike the smaller pieces of pocket change most people were used to handling. The copper, nickel-clad version was struck for everyday circulation, while special 40% silver-clad versions were minted for collectors, sold in proof and uncirculated sets. These silver issues are often worth more, especially in pristine condition, because they combine both historic and intrinsic metal value. The reverse design deserves special attention. The Liberty Bell, with its iconic crack, symbolizes the birth of a nation and its struggles toward independence. By placing the moon in the background, the U.S. Mint connected America's revolutionary past with its modern achievements, specifically the Apollo moon landing just a few years earlier in 1969. This combination made the coin more than just commemorative. It was a message of national pride, progress, and ambition. The young artist Dennis Williams, who was only 22 years old at the time, won the national competition to design this reverse. His vision gave the bicentennial dollar its lasting character, ensuring it would be remembered as one of the most creative designs in U.S. coinage history. Collectors today place great emphasis on condition and mint mark. The 1976 Eisenhower dollar in circulated condition usually sells for around $1.25 to $3, as it is common and many survive. However, coins preserved in mint state, especially in grades MS-65 and higher, can be valued at $20 to $50 or more depending on the sharpness of the strike and the absence of blemishes. Proof silver issues or uncirculated silver versions can command higher premiums, ranging from $10 to $100 depending on condition and certification. Exceptional coins with flawless surfaces graded by PCGS or NGC at MS-67 or MS-68 levels can fetch several $100s, making them prized collectibles. Historically, the Eisenhower dollar series, 1971 to 1978, is often overlooked because the coins were large and unpopular for everyday commerce. Yet the bicentennial issues stand apart, as they represent a unifying national event. For many families in the 1970s, receiving a bicentennial coin was a moment of joy, a symbol of patriotism, and something to save as a souvenir. Today, they still circulate occasionally, surprising those who find them in pocket change. For collectors, however, they are a tangible reminder of the celebration of liberty, progress, and the endurance of the American spirit. In summary, the 1776 to 1976 Eisenhower $1 coin is not merely a piece of money. It is a commemorative artifact tying together America's revolutionary beginnings and its modern accomplishments. With its bold imagery, historical weight, and collectible potential, this coin continues to hold a special place in the world of U.S. numismatics. Whether you view it as a keepsake, a symbol of history, or a potential investment, the bicentennial dollar remains one of the most meaningful and visually striking coins ever struck by the United States Mint. Absolutely. Let's continue from where we left off and take the story of the 1776 to 1976 Eisenhower $1 coin even further in long, flowing narration, just like a 10-minute style continuation. The bicentennial Eisenhower dollar is not just a coin, it is a monument in miniature form. When we hold this coin, we are not just holding copper and nickel, or even silver in some special cases. We are holding 2 centuries of a nation's journey, from the signing of the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia in 1776 to the triumphs of space exploration and technological progress of the 1970s. It tells us how far the United States had come in those 200 years, and how the dream of liberty and innovation was still alive. Imagine the Liberty Bell ringing in 1776, announcing freedom to the world, and then imagine that same bell now floating in front of the moon on this coin's design. That symbolism is powerful. It shows the United States declaring to the world that its spirit of freedom did not end with independence, but continued into the space age, reaching beyond Earth itself. When the Denver Mint produced these coins marked with the letter D, they became part of everyday circulation. Yet many people did not want to spend them. They were often placed in drawers, coin albums, or passed down as gifts to children and grandchildren. This is why today, so many still survive in good condition. But among the millions, finding one in untouched, brilliant mint state is still a challenge. Collectors search for those flawless pieces, free from scratches and wear, because those are the coins that transform from simple keepsakes into treasures of significant value. The silver-clad versions, struck especially for collectors, hold even more prestige. These were sold in special sets by the U.S. Mint and carefully preserved by families who knew they were something unique. While a normal copper, nickel bicentennial dollar might only be worth a couple of dollars today, the silver issues in high-grade proof condition can sell for much higher, making them desirable among serious numismatists. And when these coins are certified by professional grading companies and achieve top ranks like MS-68, their value can climb dramatically, sometimes into the hundreds of dollars. But beyond value, this coin is a living piece of memory. It brings us back to the bicentennial celebrations of 1976, parades across America, fireworks lighting the sky, patriotic music filling the air. It was a time when the entire nation paused to reflect on its founding, its struggles, and its achievements. The Eisenhower dollar of 1776 to 1976 carried that spirit in the pockets of everyday Americans. It connected the young and the old, teaching children about history while reminding older generations of the sacrifices that had built the country. Today, when you hold a 1776 to 1976 D Eisenhower dollar, you are not just a collector. You become part of that story. You hold the weight of liberty, history, and ambition in your hand. And whether its market price is small or large, the true value lies in the message it carries. This coin is proof that even in the simplest objects, a nation can capture its past and its future together.